Hello there, people of the internet. How is everybody doing today? I'm doing alright, thanks for asking. You're gonna hear the air conditioner in the background. It's like 98 degrees outside right now. I'm not turning that thing off. I'm gonna go ahead and keep it on. But that being said, I think that we'll still have a fun discussion today. I was out at the gun range not too long ago, and I was actually out with this right here. So I may as well grab it since it's sitting right here. I was out with this right here. This is an Oviedo Mauser. It's been rechambered for 7.62 NATO. It used to be 7mm Mauser back in the day. But I had some black powder 308, and I had this rifle regularly clinking steel out at about, we're going to call it 100 yards or so. Probably a little bit less than that, but we'll go ahead and we'll call it 100 yards. We had a 6-inch plate out at 100 yards, and man, I was just smacking that thing over and over and over with this Mauser in 308. And my buddies were like, yeah, you were just deadly accurate. And that's one of those situations where I was like, yeah, okay, cool, I'm enjoying the praise and whatnot, but this is not the level of accuracy that I'm actually capable of. Like, this was black powder 308 through an old Mauser. It was impressive, considering how much I was actually smacking my target, but I was still pulling off maybe 4 MOA, and that's not that impressive, especially considering some of the things that people are able to pull off nowadays. I've seen some amazing shooters out there with some very nicely done hand-loaded ammunition. You're not going to get tremendous accuracy from black powder anyway, even if it was hand-loaded rounds. But I've seen some tremendous accuracy with very nice rifles and hand-loaded ammunition. But I will have a lot of people claim amazing accuracy. Like, they will claim themselves to be way better shooters than they actually are. I see this all the time in the firearms community. People saying, yeah, I am a fantastic shot. I can get, you know, quarter MOA, no problem. And then they got group accuracy like that right there. A lot of it is the shooter. I will acknowledge that a lot of times people are just out of practice, or you slow down, you record them and you slow down the footage, and you see everything that they do, and their trigger pulls go like this, or whenever they pull the trigger they go like this, or something like that, that just dramatically diminishes their accuracy. A lot of times it is the shooter, but a lot of times it's not. A lot of times you can do everything perfect, and you'll have a gun that might do 1 MOA accuracy, or it might do like 4 MOA accuracy, despite the fact that you do everything right, and this time it was 1 MOA, this time it was 4 MOA. A lot of it has to do with the ammunition and certain aspects of whatever firearm it is that you're using. In this particular case, we'll talk about like a bolt-action hunting rifle. If you have like a bolt-action hunting rifle that's halfway decent, that you can actually take out to the range and print nice small groups to prove that it is in fact accurate and decent, but then you go out and you get yourself like Amazon cheapo special scope mounts and a scope, then don't expect that scope mount and scope to be the best. A lot of people will mount it to their rifle and they'll get their zero good enough, especially like I've seen this so many times. People will like zero a good enough zero at 25 yards, and then they'll take shots out at 100 yards whenever push comes to shove, whenever they're hunting or doing recreational stuff and their rifle isn't zeroed at all and they miss the target by like 4 feet. I have seen that way more times than I can even account for. But there's people that will like get the cheapest bottom of the barrel aiming stuff that they can get, or they'll get like a $3,000 scope, like a ridiculously nice one, and then cheapo mounting rings. And one of the big issues with these cheap mounting rings is because they're mass manufactured with very little quality control, and they're just not made to a very high standard. A lot of times the walls on those cheapo mounting rings will be like kind of concaved one way or another, or they'll be offset just ever so slightly, not really in a way that we as people can pick them up. But the engagement of your scope is going to be like different pressures on those scope rings, from say the back of that ring engagement to the front of that ring engagement, and through recoil or through moving around or just through settling as the scope sits on the rifle, that zero is going to change, and it's just not going to be great. You're gonna have a tough time with something like that. So I will acknowledge that a lot of times a person's lack of ability to shoot is very determined by the setup of the rifle itself. And a lot of times it's the shooter, but a lot of these people will claim absolutely amazing accuracy. Now that being said, not long ago I put up a post and I asked people what the average person, like what their limit in terms of range of being able to actually shoot at a target is. And I left it vague because I wanted people to be able to decipher things for themselves. But by and large, people were saying like 100 yards was basically the limit of what people would mostly be able to comfortably shoot at. And for the most part, I gotta disagree with that. It seems like beyond 50 yards, especially with offhand shooting, people have like, they diminish in their hit ratio, like their hit to miss ratio. It drops like below 50% for the most part with most people. Now, if you throw in an optic on your rifle, like a scope or maybe a red dot or something like that, you can bunch them up a little bit, bump up those hit ratios a little bit, but for the most part, 50 yards seems to be where most people kind of clock out, and their accuracy is diminished to the point where not all their rounds are hitting their target, especially... You know what, I'm going to go ahead and end that statement there. Yeah, we'll end that statement there. Now, then there's a lot of people who will claim tremendous accuracy with an old rifle. Like, for example, this one right here. This is a pretty gosh darn nice rifle. I was clinking steel at 100 yards with it, no problem. With black powder 308 that had some pretty marred up bullets. My buddies watch these videos, and they can vouch for me whenever I say the bullets were not the best of condition. I basically just kind of used some leftover bullets that I had laying around. But they were talking about how tremendously accurate I was with that rifle. But the accuracy was not at all up to par with my standards and what it is that I know I'm actually capable of. Like, I like the rifle, I like the bullets, I like the fact that it was black powder rounds, and I like the fact I could make my own black powder. Like, it was just cool knowing that I made the components for that ammunition, and I was getting some fairly good results from it. But I've got my M16 KP15 PSA build that was thrown together a little while ago, and that particular rifle, I've gotten half-inch groups out of that rifle. So I know that my standard of accuracy is much better than what this rifle right here was able to achieve, and I will full-on admit that. But there's people out there with these old school rifles that will claim like stupid accuracy. Like, I've lost track of how many sub-MOA Mosin Nagant rifles are out there. People with the Mosin Nagant who just love their Mosin Nagant, who will tell me, you know, they'll fight to the death about it, that they can get sub-MOA groups. As a matter of fact, I had one guy that I was going back and forth with on a YouTube comment, and he was like, yeah, all day long, no problem, half-inch groups with my Mosin. And I was like, find me a single instance, anywhere on YouTube, where somebody managed to get consistent half-inch groups with a Mosin Nagant, with hand-loaded ammo, with, like, they're just 4 MOA rifles. That was the standard of accuracy. There are some Mosins that are more accurate than that, but half MOA, I don't think there's a single Mosin Nagant rifle out there that managed to get that, not unless it was like redone by the Finns or something like that, because they really pressed accuracy. But he had a Russian refurbished 9130, and he was insistent that it was a half-inch group rifle at 100 yards, and I just can't buy that one. Now, if somebody told me, as a matter of fact, I got one right here. If somebody told me that they got like sub-MOA groups with something like this right here, this is a Swiss K31. If they told me that they were using GP11 ammunition and they got sub-MOA groups with this right here, that's something that I could believe, because these rifles are regarded as some of the nicest shooting, most accurate rifles in terms of military surplus in the world. I think the longest shot had with iron sights was actually with one of these rifles. It was at 2,200 yards away or something like that, about 1.5 miles away, which is absolutely nuts. But yeah, this right here is a rifle where I could actually believe somebody says, hey, I get consistent sub-MOA groups with this particular rifle. But if somebody's got you know, a shot-out military surplus gun that's 100 years old. I just can't buy it. I just cannot see that one, especially if they're not a hand loader. Like, I have no idea what this video actually turned into. I don't even know what I'm gonna name this video. Something along the lines of like the average person's standard of accuracy. But I just wanted to talk about accuracy for a second, because some people's tack drivers are other people's, you know, I wouldn't even take that hunting. Like, yeah, you get quarter-inch groups at 25 yards, but you're going to get 4-inch groups at 100 yards, especially because you're not that great of a shooter. Especially because you're using a Mosin Nagant with an original factory trigger. Yeah, hats off to you on that one, buddy. But, yeah, I don't really know where this video went, but I wanted to talk about it. So that's kind of what I did with this one. So I guess I'll go ahead and just end this video. If you have a particular military surplus rifle that is super accurate, like actually accurate, like 1 MOA or less consistently. Oh, I got the hiccups. I'm sorry about that, guys. But if you got one of those, let me know in the comments below, and we'll see how much I believe you. Like, if you can provide video proof, then that's whenever I'll start believing you. But for the people who tell me that they have just tack driver rifles, not if they're 100-year-old shot-out rifles, with some exceptions, some very, very rare exceptions. Alright, thanks for watching, folks. Appreciate your time. Like, subscribe, share. The description below has a link to all sorts of stuff. Go check it out. You guys go off. Have yourself a fantastic day. That AC is not working very well. It's still quite warm in here. I'll see y'all later.
Since I've done this. Bonnie and Clyde be damned. The poor man's Garen. Shame that bolt-action shotguns aren't more mainstream.